Okay, welcome to the 2015 SAT Program webinar hosted by Kool Kids Training College. I'm glad that you've all been able to join us this evening or during the course of your day. Okay, over the agenda for the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to cover a few issues in relation to the Kool Kids Training College SAT program. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about us. So some of you that are out there would have heard of Kool Kids Training College, and perhaps some haven't, so we'll quickly cover that. We'll talk about SATs and the program in some detail. We'll talk about career pathways, the sort of careers that can ultimately eventuate as a result of working in this great industry. We'll outline the application process, and then we'll talk about next steps. All right, with me today is Deanne McAnally, our Industry Relations Manager. Say hello, Deanne.
Hello.
So Deanne loves this industry, and she loves helping grow careers in children's services. And Deanne's been with the Training College since the start of the year, and many of the ILOs that are on the webinar this evening will be familiar with Deanne. That's me. I'm the Director at Kool Kids Training College, and I firmly believe that today's students are tomorrow's leaders. And we're really hopeful that as a result of this webinar and some of the activity that will follow, that great careers will be made. All right, part one, about us. So Kool Kids Training College is a Queensland-based RTO. You'll hear lots of acronyms on this webinar. We'll try and keep it simple. An RTO is a registered training organisation, and we specialise in Certificate 3 and Diploma of Early Childhood Education and Care. And we've got 3 great training locations in Southport, Milton and Logan. So what makes us different, I should say? Well, we specialise in the delivery of school-based curriculum. The CHC 30113 Certificate 3 in Early Childhood Education and Care. We have high levels of contact with our students, in-school classes, minimum visit schedule of every 3 weeks on the job. We're very focused on delivering results, and that is evident with our completion rates and the graduates that come through our college. We care and are trusted by our students, and we share their learning journey. We focus on relationships with students and our school ILOs, and most importantly, we love what we do. Here's our team standing in front of the training college, and a little bit about our values. We are focused as an organisation, a training college, on professionalism, team, quality, trust, and wow. And the wow is really important. We want to make sure that this journey that you guys are going to go on is exciting and it wows you. And the relationship that you form with your trainer is critical in that regard. And as some of the students that are on this webinar this evening would see, or today would see, some of our trainers here that you would know. We've got Ashley, second from the left there, who works very closely with our schools program at the moment. And we've got Janine, who's second on the right there, who works very closely with schools as well. Here's just a little bit about our trainers. And maybe I'll hand over to Deanne to say a little bit about our great trainers.
So currently we have 4 industry-related trainers, starting with Janine. Janine has over 20 years experience. Anyone that knows Janine knows her passion for the industry, and she works closely with the school students. So it's really important that she has a good relationship with you and also too with the ILOs. Pia is our trainer and assessor, and she has a cross-section of the RTOs during her career. Notably from Gowrie in Victoria, and anybody that knows the industry knows that Gowrie is very well represented. Pia has 10 years experience and is definitely our go-to person in our team. Karen comes with nearly 22 years experience. She is a credit to Kool Kids Training and to the Kool Kids Centres, and her role over the past years have been a director. She's worked in the centres, and she still currently does exactly that. Karen works closely with all our centre-based students, but she also, I think, would like to try and work a little bit with our schools. Ash is another one of our gorgeous trainers. She has over 7 years experience in the early childhood education and care, and Ash conducts our Tuesday and our Thursday tutorial classes, where some of our SATs come in and get some extra support and help and tutorials that they need. Ash is passionate about challenging behaviour, and she works closely with children and family counselling.
We believe that our trainers are awesome, and I'm sure if you've been to our Facebook page in recent weeks, you'll see some of the testimonials that come up in regards to the training college, and in particular our trainers. And the satisfaction levels with our trainers are off the charts, and I'm sure that those students that go forward with our program next year will get to experience the great relationship and the great training that this team does deliver. All right, about SATs, and a little bit in focus. So it's a fact that young people who undertake an SAT were more likely to be working full-time or undertaking further education or training than young people who do not undertake an SAT. And that's from the Queensland Government's Next Step report. SATs allow students, typically in years 11 and 12, to study for their Queensland Certificate of Education, their QCE, work for an employer and earn a wage, and train towards a recognised vocational qualification while completing high school. An SAT can support a student's transition from school to work. And furthermore, about SATs, completed traineeships can contribute up to 8 credits for Certificate 3 qualifications. Deanne, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Certainly. So while you're completing your Cert 3 at school, you can get up to 8 credits towards your QCE points. Partially completed certificates undertaken as a part of the traineeship may contribute to that too, but the same provision applies to all the VET certificates. It's important. One thing that we really like students to think about is that this is a career path for them. So the results from the vocational education and training undertaken as part of the SAT can be used with students for their OP ineligible to gain a selection rank for the university entrance. So you can use this Certificate 3 as part of your pathways to get into a university course. The SAT is a legally binding contract with the trainer in employment, so it's, the student is considered as an employee, so it's really, really important that you remember that you are in the field. We are trying to look at some longevity, placing you in the workplace. SATs are essentially the same as maintaining an apprenticeship and traineeship, and the key difference with SAT is that we make sure that it's integrated with your school program with training and paid work. So a flexible school program allows a student to effectively combine a SAT and study for the QCE and or OP.
All right, so that's a bit of background about the structure of the SAT and some of the government definitions, etc. Obviously, if you're watching this webinar, you've got a familiarity with that. We'll also be sending you some documents that go into a lot of detail so you can read up in your own time. We'll talk a little bit now about the Kool Kids Training College SAT program. This is just a quote from one of our students that's just been through the SAT program with us this year, Danielle. I completed my Certificate 3 in Children's Services as a school-based trainee, and it's safe to say I had the best year and a half doing it. The trainers, the staff, the other students completing the same course as me, and of course the beautiful children were all amazing. They brought a smile to my face every week. I've made lots of wonderful friendships that I'll never forget and who I still keep in contact with. The booklets were quite easy, and if I ever needed any help, I knew I always had someone to help me. I wish I could redo the experience over and over again. I'd like to highly recommend Kool Kids Training College to any student who would one day like to pursue a career in children's services. Okay, some details about what the SAT program delivers to your school in 2015. So this involves a qualified trainer delivering the Certificate 3 tuition in school. So we're working on ensuring an efficient schedule and timetable for 2015, and we'll be talking with schools and ILOs post this webinar about that schedule for next year. It involves trainers being in close contact with students over the course of training. This is phone and email support along with on-the-job assessment. So that's in the workplace in centres. So you have trainers that obviously are coming out to see you in centre to assess you and the work that you're doing. Deanne, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, as Sam mentioned earlier on, the most important part of your training is your relationship with the trainer. You need to have contact with them. You need to be able to ask them questions when you can, and also to just clarify what you're doing. So it's really, really important that we can focus in on that relationship. SATs are required to complete 50 days placement a year. So ideally, we try and break that up to 1 day per week. We will schedule that around your time and what you can do, but you need to remember that it is a commitment of 50 days placement a year. You've also got some additional, we try and give you as much support as we possibly can, so we've got also allowing some additional 3-hour virtual class time. So on a Tuesday night from 6 to 9, we'll have somebody, a trainer, who can assist you with anything that you need to do. Our trainers mark all assessment materials, so assessments are usually emailed through to us and then marked and given back to you with as much feedback as we possibly can, because we want this to be a learning experience for you.
All right, some of the schools that we're currently teaching at, you can see here, Pack Pines, Helensvale, Southport, Benoam, Merrimack, Miami Varsity, All Saints, Nerang, Palm Beach, Emmanuel, and the ATIC. And we've got a few others, and I think this slide might even be a little bit out of date. We've got a few others that are now involved in the program. Order of delivery. Deanne, would you like to talk a little bit about this?
So we have a set order of delivery, and what we like to do is give you the first modules of health and safety. We think it's quite important that you understand health and safety before you start in your field placement, and usually that is your first day too. This will give you a little bit of an overview of what to expect when you're working out there with children, and ensuring one really important module in the 18 modules that are there is ensure the health and safety of children. So, and promoting healthy food and drink, so they're all combined under the health and safety. You'll see there's now 18 modules. There used to only be 15. We're in a brand new training package, and it's very exciting.
All right, now just in terms of the recommended duration, so the program for 2015, just to be very clear, is for 12 months duration. You may have noticed on the quote from Danielle, it was 18, year and a half. That was in relation, she actually came to us from another training organisation. But the program that we're delivering in 2015, featuring the 15 core units, 3 electives, and the 50 days workplace experience, is 12 months. So it is a busy. Actually, Deanne, just talking a little bit about that, it is a pretty hectic 12 months, isn't it?
It is. It can be very challenging, and it also too is this is an adult education course. So what we like you to do is be in charge of your own learning. It's really important that you give some consideration to the other subjects that you're doing currently at school, and make sure that this has some priority in that list to do.
Okay, some of the career pathways, and I might get Deanne to talk a little bit about this as well.
So when you're studying your Certificate 3 and when you've completed your Cert 3, you can obviously join in the field and be an early childhood educator, which is working in long day care. You can also work in outside school hours care, which is commonly referred to as OSH. Playgroup supervisors, recreational assistants. So recreational assistants could be somewhere like SeaWorld or some beautiful hotels that we have here on the Gold Coast too, the Marriott and different places. Family daycare can also be an option for students. They like that's in-home care, and obviously nannies. Lots of opportunities with your Cert 3.
And then following the Cert 3, many students choose to go on to the diploma.
So your Cert 3 used to be a prerequisite for your diploma. It's now embedded. But your diploma, if you choose when you finished Year 12 and you'd like to go on to do your diploma, you can become an authorised supervisor, a group leader or a lead educator, and that means that they take a supervising role in a childcare centre. A centre manager, a team coordinator, an early childhood educator, a program coordinator, and a children's services director.
All right, now the bit that you're all eagerly awaiting, which is the application process. All right, how to apply? Well, firstly, you've ticked the box by attending this webinar. Only those that view the webinar will be sent the application form. And all applications will be taken via a standard form. It'll be a pretty easy process to complete, but we will be sending that to you within 24 hours generally of viewing this webinar. So look out in the same inbox that you registered for this webinar for an application form to arrive very shortly. Applications close for the SAT program on the 31st of October. So you've got plenty of time. If you're watching this webinar in the middle of September, you've got about 6 weeks to complete your application. Talk it through, most importantly, with your parents and guardians. Talk it through with your ILOs and friends about why you want to do the SAT program, and also think very clearly, as Deanne said, you know, there's 18 units there. It is a lot of work and it requires a lot of effort. So think clearly about how you're going to manage that workload in your year next year. By the end of November, or possibly even earlier, we'll let you know the status of your application. There are, of course, only limited places in the program, and the quality of the application is really important. So on the application form, you'll see there will be 5 questions. 5 questions involve the following. 1, outline 3 reasons why you want to secure a a 2015 Children's Services SAT program with Kool Kids Training College? 2, tell us what your career ambitions are. 3, tell us what your expectations are with the program. 4, what do you think working in an early learning centre will involve? And 5, what are you passionate about? And this is where you can really freestyle any response that you like. Just tell us a little bit more about the sort of person that you are, and that'll help us in overall our evaluation of the applications. Now, Deanne, would you just like to talk about maybe just some of the questions here and I suppose some of the thinking that the students will need to apply to answering them?
So obviously our SAT program is very sought after, and what we like to do is for you to have some really good reflection time on why you actually want to do this course. So one of our key elements that we'll be looking at is the 3 reasons. Have a really good think about why you want to work with young children, why you want to get into this industry. It's passion driven. There are some really amazing opportunities for you, and this is why we ask you to put in a profile and application. I think one of the most important things is that have a really good think about management of your time. This is such a great course to do, but it does need some time, and you will need to cut into some school time that you're doing and make it a priority in your day.
I think also, Deanne, just in relation to, say, question 4, really interesting one. You know, what do you think working in an early learning centre will involve? Certainly with a lot of students that we have that come through the college, they start off and they've got such an energy and excitement about working with kids, love playing with kids, love working with kids. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that and what the reality can be also?
So the reality is that children can be demanding, but can also be lots and lots of fun. There's not too many jobs where you can come home with sand in your pocket because you've been sitting in the sandpit. Enjoying children's educational moments in there. I think one of the most important things that you need to remember is that you need to be realistic about the job description. So have a little search yourself, jump onto Google, have a little look at some job descriptions. They will give you a little bit of an outline on some realism into working in the industry itself. It can be very challenging, but it can be one of the most rewarding things you'll ever do.
Thanks, Dan. So there you go, guys. There's 5 questions that will be on the application form. You'll receive that application form very shortly. You've got until the end of October to complete it and send it back to us. We'll then review it. It'll take us a couple of weeks, and we'll be talking with you in the mid-November timeframe for the program next year. All right, some FAQs, or frequently asked questions. So I'll fire these off to you, Deanne. Hopefully you can answer them all. How much does the SAT cost?
The SAT is actually no cost to you at all, which is lovely. It's part of the Queensland Initiative and the government initiative to get students doing their Cert 3 while they're still at school, so it doesn't cost you anything.
Okay, how long does it take?
We like it to take 12 months. 12 months is a really reasonable time for any student to complete their Cert 3.
How many classes are there and when?
So you are allocated 1 day a week in prac, and then you have a class with that. So that will be something that we look at with working closely with the ILO and making sure that we can accommodate that around everybody.
And we've got such a high demand for this program that, as we said earlier on, we'll be talking with ILOs just about how we best manage that schedule so that we're efficient and we're working very closely, because each school obviously has its own different days and timetabling. So there's a bit of work to do there as well. How do I apply? Well, I don't need to ask you that because I've just outlined that one, so that's pretty straightforward. So what are the responsibilities of the student?
So the responsibilities we outline very clearly in your student commitment letter that we, on enrolment and on application of you, when you've applied to do the SAT program, we take you through your student commitment letter. So that's an opportunity for you to have a look at what this course is really about. Just diverting from that for a moment. So where have the students that have gone through the program, those that have really excelled and those that have found it pretty tough, what's been the differences in relation to the responsibility question? So I guess having a clear understanding of what's expected of them when you're undertaking any sort of VET program is really important. So if we're very clear in the forefront of what's expected, what sort of commitments expected from you in the industry, and also to your theory components, then everything's very clear.
Okay. What are my employer's responsibilities?
So your employer responsibilities, we need to meet with the actual industry rep and discuss with them what an SAT is too. So because a lot of centres don't actually take on school-based trainees because they don't have a clear understanding of their responsibilities. Once we can overcome that, they generally go, great, let's grab all our schoolies and pop them into centres and get some work experience.
So just an extension of that question, will all the work placement be at Kool Kids?
No. So we service a lot of centres on the Gold Coast and southeast Queensland. So we'll be looking at lots of different placements for you.
Yeah, and perhaps for those viewing the webinar from some of the schools closer to Brisbane,
yep.
Kool Kids as an early learning centre network is very well known down here on the coast, but the placement and the centres that we'll be working with are wide and varied across southeast Queensland.
And in close proximity to where you are too, which is important.
Indeed. What support will the Training College give students?
Well, you'll have email, phone contact, and you'll be allocated a trainer, and the trainer will be able to give you as much support as you need. If you need some more extra support, you can absolutely think about our Tuesday night, where we'll have it live, and you can have more access to a trainer there too.
So talk a little bit about the units and the resources that the students need to get through the units.
Yeah, so you'll be given and you'll have a USB, and on your USB will be all your modules. So what you'll do from your modules is you will submit them through email to the trainer, and then you'll get the feedback from there. So it's a live working document. You'll be able to get some feedback on your modules from there, and you'll be able to submit them through to your trainer, and he or she will give you some feedback on those.
Sort of hours, we touched on a little bit of this, but
so we've got 50 days paid employment over there, but then you're looking at some other commitments too. In centre theory components, you'll be looking at extra hours just to get the theory components done. So your theory doesn't actually get involved in your paid placement.
So what sort of hours to get through the program, the 18 units, sort of roughly ballpark should a student be looking to do on a weekly basis?
You'd be thinking about a commitment of at least half a day and a night time, 1 day a week, to get on top of your modules. And particularly when we've got 18 modules in the new package, it's important to allow that study time that you get at school, and the trainer time that you get is to use that to your best advantage.
And what will students get paid?
You need to speak directly to the centre that's employing you. We at Kool Kids always direct you to Fair Work Australia.
And what happens if the students don't like it? They might be in there 3 or 4 weeks and suddenly decide it's not for them.
Okay, so you need to contact your trainer as soon as this happens, and also too, we need to come in and speak to the director at the centre and discuss with you what's going on. And sometimes it's just a misunderstanding, or we just need to open some more communication for you. Sometimes it's a little bit of a shock to a student when they go out in the field placement. We try and alleviate that by giving you as much information as you can before you actually start placement.
On the flip side of that, what happens if they absolutely love it?
Well, that's our ultimate goal, is that you absolutely love this course, and that when you're in the field is that our option is that when you finish this course is that you go on to do your diploma when you finish school.
All right, next steps, what to expect. So what will a day in centre be like?
You'll have lots of fun, there's lots of hard work, there's lots of play, lots of learning, lots of smile and lots of laughs. I think the best bit of information we can give you is just to shadow somebody who you're working with closely and learn from them. They have lots to teach you, but the biggest teacher in this whole program is going to be the children, the one-on-one that you get with the children, learning from them every day.
That's important also, Deanne, isn't it, that there is a lot of all that fun and that play and the engagement with the children and all of that, but it's also really important to front up with a can-do mindset.
Absolutely. And also too that you're going to be in an education position, so you're going to be educating young children. You might just think helping a child to tie their shoelaces is just a job. It's not. It's actually teaching that child to do that. It's actually assisting them, and that's part of the education role that you play when you're out in the field.
Now, I always like to throw in a testimonial or two, and this one's from Celine, who's one of our students this year. By studying my Certificate 3 through Kool Kids Training College, I was able to study my certificate whilst gaining experience at the same time. My trainer was amazing, guiding me along, encouraging me to constantly push myself to achieve the best results which I could. Each week when I would go to the centre, everybody at the centre was friendly, always willing to help me to achieve my goals. Overall experience with Kool Kids was great. This wouldn't have been possible without all the help offered by my trainer. So really important there, I think, also just in terms of how centres view the students and their willingness to invest and to help grow their careers at such an early stage.
Well, it's such a pathway for everybody. We need to make sure that it's that together we work together to ensure that you're getting the best possible outcome that you can. But that, again, is what Sam said, you've got a can-do attitude. Give that a try. It's important that you show initiative when you're out in the field, but also to be very mindful that you're under supervision.
All right, we're just nearing the end, not long to go. So what's next? All right, well, you'll be emailed an application form. As I mentioned, it will have to be completed over the next few weeks, but back to us. I should have put in there 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 31st of October. We'll also be sending you the department's guide to SAT, so that goes into a lot more detail from the first to second section of this webinar. Once you've applied, you'll then be sent instructions on the next steps, which will include compiling a list of questions to ask at your workplace interview. So do you want to just touch on that for a minute?
Sure. So part of your enrolment is that you'll actually go into the field. We make the connection with the centres, obviously, that you're going to be doing your placement at, but then we require you to have an interview. Now, this is a great opportunity. Sometimes some schoolies have actually never been for a workplace interview, so it's a really great opportunity as an experience. We'd like you to prepare a CV and think about some questions that you'd like to ask. This is a great chance to ask for a job description. This is an excellent opportunity to ask the centre the hours that you're going to be working, and what role and where you're going to be in what room. I just think it's important. This is an integral part of why we're a little bit different. It's part of this process that helps you to be job ready and employment ready. And this is why we do this.
Excellent. All right. I did say I like to finish on a testimonial, but that's Penny, who some of you may have seen driving around on the back of buses and over all of our advertising on our website and so forth, but said that the training was an amazing learning journey. And it's all really about coming to this graduation ceremony, isn't it?
Sure is.
Which we're holding in the next few weeks. So if you would like to see yourself in that photo in just over 12 months' time, then complete your application form that you'll be sent very shortly and get that over to us. Always feel free to visit our website or call us to talk about any aspect. I think what we'll do also with those applications that we get through, we may also have a question and answer session, which we'll do through a similar sort of webinar, where we'll go live with questions from all the students that have applied. But certainly feel free to just give us a call at either of those numbers and ask for Deanne or Sam, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you've got in regards to your application. So that brings us to a close. Thank you, Deanne. It's been a great half hour or so talking SATs with you. My name's Sam. I'm the Training College Director, and we thank you for your time, and we look forward to receiving your applications very shortly.
Thank you.